Welcome to the Truth Decay Podcast, talking dollars and cents with Sara Baker and LaRae McMullen.
Woo! LaRae, what would you say if I told you that by cleaning up credit balances, dental offices could save their practices thousands of dollars?
Well, Sara, I'd say you're absolutely right, because those hidden credits are basically money just sitting there. So if a practice doesn't stay on top of them, they're either losing revenue or risking compliance issues. Cleaning them up isn't just smart, it's actually essential.
Yeah. This is stuff that we've actually run into recently in real life with our clients. So those credits, the ones that you are dead set on ignoring, and don't tell me that you're not, they may not even be real. So let's just talk about them. And also something that I think one of the reasons we're talking about this is dentists, you can't just ignore them. You could actually get into some trouble if you get caught holding on to those balances. One thing that could kind of sink a practice a little bit is reputational damage. Like if there's some bad reviews, right? A patient gets really loud about this office had held on to my credit for too long, or they tell another office that this happened. So that reputational damage could actually be something that's costly, but there is disciplinary action that could be taken against your practice, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So honestly, let's just talk about the credits balance report. It's not just a formality, and it's not just something that accounting wise you should think about every once in a while. It's a risk management must. So, this is our first podcast, and one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast is because these are issues that LaRae and I see constantly. We see them all the time. And specifically regarding credit balances, literally, this is something that comes up. I would say, I don't know, LaRae, what you think, like what percentage of our offices have a routine that they do consistently to address their credit balances?
5% at most.
Yeah, like 5% might be generous. So again, when we were thinking about a way to kind of reach out for, a way to like connect with dental offices and talk to them about these issues, a podcast we thought might be a good thing. And even though we don't really know what we're doing, we thought this would be something that we could talk to offices about these really important topics that we really, really, really think that they need to know about. And credit balances was honestly one of the top things that jumped out at us, because dental offices do not pay attention to their credit balances, and they really, really need to.
I was just going to say, we see it a lot, and we see, people wanting to just keep the credit on there for, the next time somebody comes in for those services. But you actually stumbled across some really important information specifically in the state of California, which sort of made us really want to focus on this and just get the word out a little quicker than we had planned.
100%. Because many dental offices, they treat credit balances as an afterthought. And really, honestly, they don't really think about them until a patient asks for a refund. And they kind of say like, hey, I want my refund. And sometimes easy peasy, they just issue it. But then other times you look at it and maybe it's something that's been running for a long time and you have to do a bit of an audit. Yes, it takes time, but it's necessary. But something that seems harmless, this thing that you're kind of ignoring, it can actually trigger penalties under a very specific California law. Now, if you're listening to this out of state, out of the state of California, LaRae is actually out of the state of California. I can't tell you, by the way, P.S., we are not lawyers. I want to be very clear about that. But I want to read you the wording of this California code. So this is California Business and Professions Code 732. So feel free to look it up yourself, okay? But I do want to read to you what it says. and get ready to have your mind blown, okay, if you didn't know about this. So again, this is California Code Business and Professions Code 732, and it says a physician and surgeon and a dentist shall refund any amount that a patient has paid for services rendered that has subsequently been paid to the physician and surgeon or dentist by a third-party payer and that constitutes a duplicate payment. Great. A refund shall be made as follows. This is the important part when we're talking about those credit balance reports. Number 1, if the patient requests a refund within 30 days following the request from the patient for a refund, if the duplicate payment has been received, or within 30 days of receipt of the duplicate payment if the duplicate payment has not been received. Number 2 says, if the patient does not request the refund within 90 days of the date the physician and surgeon or dentist knows or should have known of the receipt of the duplicate payment, and the physician and surgeon or dentist shall notify the patient of the duplicate payment, and the duplicate payment shall be refunded within 30 days unless the patient requests that a credit balance be retained. So that is a lot of really important and good information that the dental office should know, that there is a should have known in there. And I think that that implies to me, again, that there should be a process in place, that these things should be known about. The office needs to be responsible for making sure that payments are being received, they're being accounted for in their practice management software, and that patients are being communicated with, that this credit balance report is not something that we can just ignore. It's not something that we can just say, if they call us. It's actually incumbent on the office, because the last part of this business code is violation of this section shall constitute as unprofessional conduct. Disciplinary proceedings shall be conducted in accordance with the Medical Practice Act or the Dental Practice Act. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I would encourage every dentist to go, please check this out themselves and, look into this and figure it out. But man, interesting, right? Interesting. I would want to know about this if I owned a practice and if I was responsible for maintaining a credit balance report.
Yeah. And if we're not talking about the legality here, which we are, but if we're just talking about patient relations, we hear a lot that patients can get a little hesitant to go to the dentist, right?
Sure.
And and when they do and they don't understand insurance, they sometimes think that the dentists are just out to get their money. They're selling me stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? So we know that's not what dentists are doing. We know that dentists are providing the services that the patient needs regardless of what their insurance will cover. So this to me is just a little bit of another layer. If you're making sure that you are alerting people when they have, credits or when they've overpaid, it gives another layer of trust that your patient is trusting that you're not just trying to keep their money. You're actually only wanting to provide the service that they need and get what you can get out of their insurance. So to me, it's a couple of layers here. Legality, of course, you want to make sure you're doing everything legally. But for that patient relation, when you call a patient, you say, hey, you have a credit on your account. We got your insurance that came through. It looks like you've got a $25 credit. Do you want us to send that back to you? It's them hearing that you're not just trying to keep their money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can use that to get them in the chair another time, to get them to say, you got $25 credit and you're actually due for a cleaning. We can use that. Would you like us to get you booked in?
Those are two really good points, because number one, you're saying transparency. Like you're saying, I think people that listen to this, which we hope people are going to listen to this, they're going to hear us say this a lot. It's surprises. Surprises are the worst part of billing. Like dentistry being expensive is not the problem. It's when it's a surprise is when it's a problem. So being transparent in all aspects of the dental billing kind of process is important, but you can also use the things that you should be doing anyway, and you can leverage that into part of your process. You can use reaching out to these patients and telling them that they have a credit, to use that as an opportunity to say, hey, we had a treatment plan for you that it looks like you weren't ready to schedule at the time. Are you ready to come in now? Like all of that can be done at the same time. And, I think
Creating
that
a really good relationship with your patients, it goes a
absolutely.
long way.
Absolutely. And some of the mistakes I think that dentists make here at the top are, number one, believing that credits are just harmless leftovers. And number two, not realizing that maintaining them without action can be considered unprofessional conduct. Not just like vibing, but also like
Yeah.
legally. And number three, not having a regular process to catch and fix them. So, we recently, with one of our clients, had a situation where they asked a very, very good question to us. And they said, hey, we have a credit balance report that we haven't looked at in a very long time. And we'd love for you guys to look at it. So do you want to tell kind of how that went?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have an office that we've had with us for a couple of years, but honestly, I don't think that credit balance report had been looked at for so much longer than that. And they had been alerted of their credit balance report, so they were a little bit nervous and they wanted it to get cleaned up, which is fantastic. So they turned to us and they said, "Is this something you guys do?" We said, yeah, for sure. We can totally run that credit balance report. And what we'll do is we'll audit every single account. Yep. That's not something that most offices can do, in office, just because
Absolutely
they're
not.
so busy.
Yep.
And so we were happy to be able to do that for them, kind of in the background. We fully expected to do these audits and then let them know how much they had to pay back, and each account, that here's what this account, you owe for this account. Here's what you owe for this account. Surprisingly though, what we actually found was they did not have credits. It was a lot of missed adjustments, or, just things that had been on there for years. So gosh, Sarah, I think it went from like 20,000 in credits to like 2,000 in credits. I mean, they saved a significant amount. So if they had ran that credit balance report and just started going through each account and giving refunds to each one that had a credit, they would have lost out on a lot of money. And it doesn't look like you're losing out on it, but just not having that practice in place, like you were saying, not having, a regular process to catch these things, it led them to having these credits on their accounts that were not true credits. So we were able to go in there, pull all the old EOBs from years ago, make the correct adjustments, and there wasn't a credit on a lot of these accounts. Actually, some of these accounts ended up needing to pay.
Yes.
And the patient owed the office the money. So yeah, it's not just about alerting them of a credit. It's not just about, following the law. It's so much more. There's so many layers to it. And just having that regular process ended up saving this office thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And I would even argue that not having a system in place to catch these credits while it was happening in real time, right? Because our concentration is on balances, right, with what we do. So being asked to do this for them, we were kind of going back in time and going through these credits for them. And like you said, some of these accounts actually owed money, but some of these accounts, this money, the patients didn't know that they owed the money from years ago.
For years.
And so that's a tough ask, right? Anybody who works the front desk knows going back and asking a patient, hey, so remember a year and a half ago when you were in the office and you actually owe money from that is a tough ask. So then the office has to ask themselves, where are our resources best spent? Is it going after this patient, and asking them to pay this balance that they absolutely rightfully owe? Or do we kind of chalk it up to our bad, our fee schedule should have been right at the time, or we should have done a better job, at maintaining this? We're going to chalk this up to a life lesson and kind of not do this going forward. So unfortunately, I'm glad that we were able to kind of stop them from kind of leaking that money at the time, but they did lose out on money back then, right? And so hopefully we got them to a really good place and they're going to be able to maintain that credit balance report going forward, and not lose out on opportunities like that. So again, systems. The answer is always systems. The answer is literally always going to be systems. And in this case, it's no different. So,
I mean, there's just so many hidden places where you can save money or make money or lose money. And this is just one of those ones that, it keeps getting pushed to the wayside. In a lot of offices, like we said, that, we're being very generous when we say maybe 5% of our clients actually have a system in process for this. And this could be happening in every single one of them. There could be 3 years ago, somebody might owe $700 for a crown, and they're going to have a really hard time collecting that now.
Absolutely.
So it is another place where you can lose money, not just on the actual credits, but just not having, a system in place.
So what is the solution, right? What are the solutions to this credit balance issue? So step number 1 is going to be, you have to stop avoiding your credit balances. Absolutely. It's perhaps one of the most common things that we see in dental offices is just completely avoiding the credit balance report. Ultimately, the actual text of the code says that dentists have 30 days to refund the credit when a patient requests it. That's obviously much easier, right? And especially since the patient is kind of waiting for it. And so you do kind of feel that the clock is ticking. You've got to get it to them. Patient knows they're expecting it, so that's easy. However, that second part, and that's the part that I think is probably blowing some minds right now, that's the within 90 days of the date the physician and surgeon or dentist knows or should have known of the receipt of the duplicate payment. Again, like we said before, I think the wording is a little bit vague. I interpret it, again, not a lawyer, but I interpret it to mean that the office needs to have a process by which it is monitoring or maintaining the credit balances and alerting patients to the true credits on a regular basis. So what's a regular basis, right? So I think the key is to build a documented, regular review process of your credit balances. Again, systems, right? Systems. So think of it like hygiene. Like you wouldn't skip patient cleanings, so don't skip credit balance cleanups either. I relate a lot of stuff to exactly kind of what you'd say to a patient. It's the same thing. I'm saying it to you. So number 1, set a review schedule, monthly, bi-monthly, or at minimum quarterly. But once it gets down to it, I would say monthly. Like I really do.
Maybe quarterly when you're trying to get through the weeds, but once you've got a system in place, I would definitely recommend monthly because you don't want it to get out of hand again.
Yeah, agreed. Number 2, I would say validate those credits. So again, remember our example that, distinguish the true credits, those actual duplicate payments, patient paid their estimated patient portion, insurance possibly overpaid or whatever, from posting errors or discounts, right? Make sure that it's not due to a fee schedule being incorrect. Make sure that it's not you giving a discount and then the insurance actually ended up paying, because you don't have to refund for a discount. Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do that. It's specifically the duplicate payment from the insurance payer. Number 3, patient contact. Notify patients of legitimate credits per that code 732, right? So again, within 90 days of becoming aware. And with this process, you're going to become aware, right? So it takes care of the should, because you're going to become aware because of your process. Number 4, documentation. Keep a written record of review dates, attempts of contact, and resolutions. This is super duper important because with what we do, we kind of over document, which is, I always say, write a paragraph. I'd rather you write a paragraph than you write something that I don't understand or is too little or whatever. So make sure that you're documenting every single attempt to contact those patients about the balance, right? And if you're not able to contact them, there are then methods by which you can report these credits to, to your state, whichever one you're in. I think that, takeaways are credit balances are not optional. They're not optional. They are a compliance, reputational, and possibly at best disciplinary, at worst legal issue.
Yeah.
So cleaning up your credit balance report can literally put thousands back into your practice. That's not hyperbole. That's legit. So having a process for regular credit balance verification and maintenance will provide you with protection and financial health for your practice. I mean, so please stop ignoring them. Please stop ignoring them. Please. And I'm talking
Let us
to
help.
you.
We can help.
But let us help. Let us help. And what are 2 action steps that you can actually take right now? Number 1, run that report. Stop ignoring it. It's there. Just because you put your fingers in your ear and you it's still there. I promise. Run it and then go through it. Set up quarterly review systems and do it today. Like, you have to. If your office doesn't have the bandwidth to do it, figure out somebody to do it.
Yeah.
Figure out somebody to do it. And number 2, start a credit validation log. So document every credit checked, whether an action was needed and whether the patient was notified. Start that today. You can do that today, right now. So I recommend that you do those things. And ultimately, again, credit balances aren't just numbers sitting in your software. They are trust points between you and your patients. And that's exactly what LaRae said earlier. Managing them well shows integrity. It protects your license and it keeps your practice financially strong. So I'm really glad that we talked about this. I don't hear anybody talking about this. And again, it's kind of a rarity for an office to have like a solid, consistent credit balance maintenance process. So I would love to see more practices doing that.
Yeah, it's really an important part. I completely understand, to keep a practice running, you need patience and you need to get that money in. But there's so much more to it. And like you said, Sarah, we don't hear about it much. So this is one of the reasons we wanted to, really hit the ground running talking about these credit balances.
Yeah. If anybody out there needs any help, please feel free to shoot us an email. You can email us at hello@thetruthDecayPodcast.com. Also, feel free to visit our website, which is sddentalsolutions.com. And you could find contact information, also hello@sddentalsolutions.com. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, we're just everywhere.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for listening. We hoped you like it. And if you did, please consider subscribing to this podcast because there will be more coming.
So next time, actually, we are going to be talking about something that we consider to be a little bit of a specialty around here. On the next Truth Decay podcast, we're going to be discussing, where is your missing 9%? Why do so many practices fall short of collecting what is owed to them? And where does that missing 9% go?